Welcome back Pokefans to the Pokemon Astra Adventures 2 Nuzlocke playthrough. If you haven't already, then go and watch the previous episodes of the playthrough. So after beating Erika, the gym leader, Mr. Fuji's waiting for us outside and he's give us the Poke Flute. I'm assuming that's gonna have a Snorlax coming up soon. But we've still got to explore Celadon City, so we run back to the Pokemon Center to heal up. In the house just to the left of the Pokemon Center upstairs, we actually find quite a useful item by speaking to the NPCs. So this old guy tells us that the little one's thrown away a useful item. So we click on the bins and we find the leftovers. Kind of makes sense it being in the trash, seeing as it's leftovers. But it's obviously something that's a useful item. We then continue around Celadon City and we talk to this old guy over here. And he goes ahead and gives us an Alolan Grimer. Not the best, but I think Alolan Muck's better than the normal Muck. Probably not something we're going to use in the run though. We go ahead and give it the nickname Pollution because I couldn't really think of anything. And it's only going to stay in the box anyway, so it doesn't matter. After this we head on into Celadon department store, and it's all on one floor now, so you haven't got to do the different floors. This guy here sells just air balloons, which for an expendable item 4,000 Pokedollars is quite a lot. We went ahead and spoke to all the NPCs in here and they're all just kind of filler. None of them really tell you anything or give you anything. So this woman over here is for the lottery, where basically if your Pokemon's ID matched the lottery number, then you win an item. But to be fair, I don't think I've ever won it. So we head on into here and we can buy all the in battle items, but obviously we can't use items during battle. We then get the held items and there's some pretty cool stuff here. Room service, I don't think I've ever heard of that before. But stuff like weakness policy and eject button and focus sash, they're quite good. They have like their uses for certain Pokemon. So we head into the next one, and this one is where you can get the different Pokeballs from. So the first NPC sells the cheaper balls, and then the other one sells the more expensive ones. We don't really need any Pokeballs yet though, so we don't bother getting any. We head into the next room, and this is just your normal Pokemon stuff. We do stock up a little bit though on potions. We can also now get full restores as well, but I don't think we've got much money. Then we head into the back of this place, and this is where I think you can get the TMs or TRs in this game. There's some decent TRs, them ones seem to be mainly boost, and these ones are more actual attacks. Then we head into the front and there's two more NPCs in here, and you can get all the evolution stones from the one on the left, and the one on the right sells you all the stat boosting items like your vitamins. And that's the whole of the department store. It's probably better the way it is compared to what it used to be. And that is everything that you can kind of do in Celadon City. Because we head into this hotel and it's just pointless. None of the people in here tell you anything. After that, we spot our rival Andy just chilling by the fountain, and he says that he's getting ready for Erika, but fortunately we've already beat her, and this battle's not too hard. He does have a primate now though, and a cross chop does not do much, and 2 wing attacks can finish it off. Next up comes Gyarados, and obviously that's not good for Drew, but nor is Buzz for Gyarados. He misses a Stone Edge, and then a single Thunder Punch takes it down in 1 hit. Next up comes Munchlax, and we can just go for some power up punches. We dodge the paralysis, and then we take it out in a second power up punch. Next up comes Charizard, and we outspeed it, so with the boost a single Thunder Punch takes it out. He then learns Battle Cry, which is basically like Swords Dance, but Buzz doesn't learn that, so it's obviously a new move. Vileplume comes out next, and we can't really hit it with any effective attacks, so we switch out into Zac because it can't do anything to us really. Air Slash does just about half when we get the flinch, and then a second Air Slash can take it down. So easy battle. All we've got left to do now is to continue on to Cycling Road. We head down to Route 16 and we can get a new encounter. And looking at the 2 that were available, we've already got plenty of fire types, so I just went for Dodrio. I don't think I've ever used a Dodrio. Maybe on like Pokemon Yellow or something like that. But we do our normal strat, switch into Zac, put it to sleep, and then start throwing some Pokeballs. We do miss a few Hypnosis though, so we go for a Leech Life, takes it down to about half, and we miss another Hypnosis. It's not really doing too much to us, and then we miss a 3rd Hypnosis in a row. We then finally connect with a Hypnosis, and we throw 1 ball, and that is enough to catch Dodrio. I was really struggling for nicknames when I was playing through this time, so I actually ended up calling this Schizo, because when it becomes a Dodrio it's got 3 heads, and I'd imagine all of them talking to the middle one would be like what being schizophrenic could be like. A little bit of a crazy nickname, but oh well. After that it gives us a citrus berry and some EXP candies. We need to head back that way though, because we can't get to this house, and in the process we do run into the Ponyta. We just run away from it though, and it drops an Ockerberry and some more EXP candies medium. Turns out that going to this house was actually a waste of time, because it's just a woman who tells you that it's her favourite hideout spot and the Firo. There's nothing actually in here. I think it pays homage to the original games where you get Fly from that woman, but since HMs aren't in this game it doesn't really matter. Next up we pick up this TM for low sweep, and then we need the Poke Flute to take out this Snorlax, well, to wake it up first. We do lead off with Jeffrey though, because I do want to try and catch this, so we're going to need to put it to sleep, and Jeffrey's probably a lot bulkier than Crobat. It kind of shocked me when like it suddenly stood up, I weren't expecting it, and it's at level 40 as well, so it's not going to be weak. We put it to sleep first turn, thankfully with Sleep Powder, but then it wakes up. Sludge Bomb gets a crit and takes it down to around 2/3, but as you can see it's getting health recovery every turn from leftovers, so we put it to sleep, we throw an Ultra Ball, and we actually get it first time. I thought it was going to be a lot harder than that. We go ahead and give it the nickname Steve, which I think is probably the best nickname that we've given in this episode. After the battle it drops over a leftover, so now we've got 2 and some large EXP candies, and now we can head on to Cycling Road, which has changed from the original games. It's still the same in regards to you have the bikers that you have to beat, but there's a pit stop in the middle now as well. So we quickly heal up from this guard, and then we can head on down. So there's going to be quite a few battles, so I've kind of just looped them all together rather than walking to each one. So the first one is Biker Jared, and he's only got a Ponyta level 35. Why it's not something stronger at this point in the game, I'm not sure. But we absolutely tank a flamethrower with Gary, and Aqua Tail takes it out in 1 hit. Up next is another weak Pokemon in a Coffin, and we actually miss our Aqua out and it burns us, which was a little bit annoying. So now we switch out into Zac, and obviously he can't do nothing to us because we're bulky and we resist his strongest attacks, and a single air slash actually takes it out. Next up's Biker Ricardo, and he's got a Galarian Slowpoke, which I think's water poison now. Doesn't really stand much though against Slowpoke. I mean against Electabuzz, not Slowpoke. We get a Battle Cry off, which gives us +2 attack, and we just literally run through the team then. Alolan Raticate's 4 times weak to fighting as well, so didn't stand much chance. The next biker has Primeape, so he's a little bit tougher than the other, but he's not going to be nothing too crazy. 2 of his Pokemon are actually the same as the rival that we've just beat. We switch into Buzz, we get off our Battle Cry, and then a Power Up Punch takes out Munchlax in 1 hit. Now we're at +3 attack. We take a Cross Chop quite well, and then a Thunder Punch takes it out. Next up's Galarian Farfetch'd, and I didn't want to take a chance that it outspeeds us, so I switched to Gary. Brutal Swing really doesn't do much, but then it goes for a Detect, which is quite annoying. The second Aqua Tail though takes it out. This guy says that he's left his bike, and I'm assuming it's his bike, but you can't actually do anything with it. Then we arrive at the pit stop, which is different. There's a lot of NPCs here, but most of them don't really do anything. This guy gives us the TM for Incinerate, which is not the best of moves, quite weak for its power. In the pit stop area, you also have a mart where you can buy your Pokeballs and stuff, but you can also get some TRs, and these are very good. U-turn, Volt Switch, Acrobatics, Flip Turn. There's a new move as well called Tempest. I'm not even sure what type it is, but I went and brought it just to see if anyone could learn it. And then we obviously pick up a few of the good TRs like Acrobatics and Volt Switch and U-turn. You can also get Will-O-Wisp, Swords Dance, Dragon Dance as well. Some really good TRs. So we see if anyone can learn Tempest and no one can, so I still don't know what actual type it is. This guy actually gives you some useful information if you want to breed, that this would be a perfect area to run up and down because it's quite a long area with no one in your way. And this NPC tells us how Kadabra evolves, which is, I'm assuming, by Twisted Spoon. This guy gives us Iron Ball, and I think that's a pretty useless item. We then find an area that is like the casino, but I don't know if we can actually do it because I'm sure we haven't got a coin case, unless you just use your normal Pokemon. But I've never really been into using the slots or casinos or whatever on the Pokemon games. Then we can continue on to the other part of Cycling Road where we've got a biker gang. There's a few battles here, so we'll group them all together. First one is Cue-Ball Row, and he's got an Alola Meow, which again is 4 times weak to fighting. It does have a berry though, so single Power Punch doesn't take it out, but with a second one and extra attack we take it out. Umbreon just about lives from the boosted Power Up Punch, but then it only goes for a mean look and the second one can take it out. Next up we've got another Cue-Ball. He leads off with a Machoke, so we switch out into Zac, because again he can't really do much damage to us. We're quad resisting fighting moves. He's got a berry that weakens air slash and we only do half, but because he's not doing much we can just do a second air slash and take it out. Next up comes its dad, the Machamp, and same thing again, 2 air slashes take it out. The third battle is Biker Malik, and he's got just a Growlithe. Again, I think this should have been an Arcanine to make it a little bit more challenging. It does no flamethrower however, but it's not doing much to a Gyarados. Single Aqua Tail can take it out, and then next up comes a Alolan Persian, and that goes down to a single Aqua Tail as well. Arcanine actually wants to learn Snarl as well, which it's not too bad, but we're physical, and Drew wants to learn Dragon Pulse as well. Then we arrive onto Route 18, but there's nothing here yet, so we continue through. So on the actual Route 18, we've now got some more trainer battles, and these were really easy. The majority of them were bird keepers, and Buzz literally decimates all of them with thunder punches. Gyarados learns Crunch, which is a lot better than Bite. And then a Fearow, even with a berry that weakens it, goes down to a single thunder punch. Next bird keeper's got a Pidgeotto, and this has the exact same fate. Dodrio also suffers the same fate, single thunder punch. Jeffrey then learns Earth Power, which is going to be good seeing as we're coming up against the poison type gym leader. The next bird keeper has a Pidgeot, and that also goes down to a thunder punch. Farfetch, same. We do have a Mega Stone here, which is a Pinsirite. So if we find a Pinsir, we could maybe have our first Mega Pokemon. We also find the TM for Snarl as well. We can get an encounter here, but looking at those, I really don't want either of them. So we head on to these little cults, I think. They're all like cults of Koga, but they're not hard battles at all. They all use Psychic or Poison type Pokemon, and majority of them are still first evolution, so these battles are pretty much a breeze. The second one's got a Haunter and Weeping Bell, but again, not the strongest of Pokemon. Haunter goes down to single Thunder Punch. Weeping Bell goes down even with a reducing berry. The next one's got a Charmeleon, which kind of threw me off a little bit. I wasn't expecting it to have a fire Pokemon, but it's still quite weak and a single Thunder Punch can take it out. We're also quite a few levels above these trainers. Then we arrive at Fuchsia City, and we've got a new city to explore, but we head into the Pokemon Center to heal up first. There isn't actually too much in Fuchsia City, but we go around and speak to everyone anyway. All the Pokemon that you see on display are all Pokemon that apparently appear in the Safari, which means we can also get a pretty good encounter here. We find the Pokemon lab, and there's some pretty useful people in here. This guy wants to teach us Surf, but we're not strong enough already yet apparently. We've then got the move deleter, we've got trade there, and also the nickname changer. This NPC here tells us that the warden is doing something cool, and if we find it we get a pretty good prize. I then feel sorry for this guy because he's the one who gave us the fossil in Mount Moon, but apparently our trainer doesn't remember him and he's quite embarrassed that we don't. So then we continue on checking Fuchsia City, and I think all that's left to do now is go to the Safari Zone. There's an NPC here who sells all the incenses, but we don't really need any of them. This NPC here also sells some TRs, pretty good moves there like Ice Beam and Psychic. This guy here gives you the, is it Galarian Ponyta, I think it is. It's the one that's Psychic Fairy. I wanted it to be a female, but unfortunately it's a male, so I was a little bit stuck for a nickname. And we ended up going for Rylan. No idea why, it's just the name that come to my head at the time. It more than likely will just be staying in the Pokebox anyway. Then we finally head into the Safari Zone. And like I said earlier, there's going to be a lot of encounters here. So we've got quite a good choice. You also now don't have to pay, you can just go in free. And you don't have to use Safari Balls either. Obviously because it's a big area and there's a lot of grass. And we've got a lot of Pokemon we can select from. We're going to use a Repel. We get the TM4 Dragon Breath, and we've seen a Parasect and Execute. There's a Pinsir here, which I contemplated getting, but I thought we'd wait to see what else there was. We then see a Psyduck, and up the top here there's a Chansey, which would be good for grinding EXP because they give off a lot. Then down here we've got Rhyhorn and Venomoth. We can't go there because we can't surf, so we continue on. There's another Execute. We then find a Rampaging Tauros. I think that was Dratini. We wouldn't be able to reach there anyway because we can't surf yet. And we can't actually go on any further, so now we've got to head all the way back. I originally wanted to save my encounter till I could do the whole of the safari, but as you're about to see, on our way back we accidentally run into a Pokemon. I didn't even see it coming, but Cypher just comes out of nowhere, so that means that's going to be our encounter. It's not something that I actually mind having because I do quite like Scizor. We weaken it down with some leech lives. It's not doing much to us because we resist its attacks either, so it's just a little bit of a slow process of getting it into the red. We then can put it to sleep with a hypnosis, and then we just start throwing Pokeballs till we catch it. Because we've weakened it so much, I wanted to catch it in a Luxury Ball, which is my favourite Pokeball. Its catch rate's going to be quite high, so it wasn't hard to catch. It's a female, but we went ahead and just called it Bugsy. I suppose it could be male or female for that name. And then after the battle it drops a Razor Claw, which I think boosts critical hits, and the EXP candy larges. So now we've got to go back to Fuchsia City and get ready for the gym. We can go down to Route 19, and this actually turned out to be quite a good idea because we can get a Staryu, which becomes a Starmie, which is also a Psychic type, which is going to be good for the gym. We switch out into Jeffrey and we just put it to sleep. It went for a Minimize and I thought this is going to be annoying, but we put it to sleep first turn, and then we actually catch it with our first Great Ball. We go ahead and give it the nickname Misty, seeing as her ace Pokemon is a Starmie. And then after the battle it drops a Star Piece and some more large EXP candies. We take on the Fisherman here just for the EXP. It's not a hard battle because he's got all water Pokemon and we've got Buzz who just decimates water Pokemon. His Horsea and his Seeking both go down to a single Thunder Punch. After the battle we talk to the NPC here and he gives us a utility umbrella. Don't think it's an item I've heard of before, so it might be something new. We then pick up the Stardust and all that's left now is to get ready for the gym because we've explored the whole of the city. In the process of doing that, we use our water stone on Misty to turn it into a Starmie, since it's going to be something we're going to use against the gym. When it evolves, it learns a move called Spotlight, which I don't think I've heard of before, so it might be a new move as well, but it's pretty useless. So then we head on into the gym and we take on all the trainers first. First up is a double battle, and they lead off with Gloom and Weeping Bell. Starmie is going to get its first little bit of use, and it takes that Weeping Bell with a single side beam. Earth Power did nowhere near as much as what I expected, and next up comes Nidoking, and we double into it because it's quite a strong Pokemon. Misty does get hit with a Giga Drain, which takes it down to red, and I had a little bit of a mini heart attack, but then a Psy Beam and an Earth Power can finish it off. Next up comes Nidoqueen, and we double into that as well, and same thing, it goes down to both of the attacks, so we get through the first battle with no casualties. Next up is Juggler, who leads off with Coughing. We also have a Nidoking now because we had a Nidoran, and we leveled that up as well. He learned some strange moves like Static Stinger, which is an electric physical move, but it's not doing much to Coughing, so we switch into Zac because we tank all its attacks. It goes down to 2 air slashes and doesn't really do much to us, because after we've taken it out we're pretty much at full health with Black Sludge heal. Next up is Arbok. We go ahead and put it to sleep on the first turn. Then we switch out into Geo the Nidoking. It does hit us with a Sucker Punch, but it doesn't do much. And then Earth Power takes it out with 2 hits. Next up comes a Venonat, and we can just switch out back into Zac, and Signal Beam does not do a lot either. It does take an Air Slash quite well and then confuses us with Signal Beam, but we get through the confusion and take it out with a second one. Next up is Ninja Kid Nakamura, who's got a Beedrill. We switch Geo into Zac again. We do need to be a little bit careful though, because we're coming up to the level cap. We get Flinch with our first Air Slash, and he goes ahead and switches out into Gengar, who really tanks that Air Slash. This causes us to switch out into Jeffrey. Thankfully we did, because we tank a Thunder. It does paralyze us though, and a Shadow Ball does quite a lot. We get hit with a bit of confusion, paralysis as well, sorry. So we have to switch out into Steve, who's immune to Shadow Ball. We get put to sleep though, and it hits us with a Focus Blast. We're risking a crit here, and we live on 18 HP, but then a single crunch can take out the Gengar. A little bit close. Next up comes Beedrill again, so we switch out into Zac again, tank a Poison Jab, and then an Air Slash can finish it off. We actually avoid the last battle and head straight for Janine, the gym leader, because I didn't want to lose any Pokemon before we take on the gym, because looking at a Pokemon, it's not going to be easy. They've all got decent coverage. She leads off with a Weezing. We hit it with a Psyshock, and its red card switches us out. It just goes for Toxic Spikes however though. I thought about switching out to Jeffrey, but I thought we haven't really got much for it because it's got Levitate. It goes for Flamethrower, and then a second Fire Fang just about survives, so we have to go for a third. This causes Tentacruel to come out, so we can switch out into Jeffrey to soak up the Toxic Spikes. We take a Scald incredibly well, and then we can switch out into Clement. It again goes for another Toxic Spikes. 2 layers are now up. Parabolic Charge did nowhere near enough, and I forgot it got the ability Liquid Ooze. So we're now brought down to the red, and a Discharge can take it out. Next up comes Venomoth, and this Pokemon is scary. It's got Quiver Dance, which boosts its speed, special defense and special attack. Thankfully we got Steve, who can tank special attacks. It then goes for its Quiver Dance. We hit a yawn, so it's going to fall asleep at some point. We can then switch out to Jeffrey to soak up the toxic spikes and take a Bug Buzz. Good enough. Now it's asleep, we can switch out into Drew, and thankfully it stays asleep for the first turn, but then it wakes up. Venoshock just about survives, and a Fire Fang takes it down to over half. Now it's awake though, we've got a switch, and we need to sack something. Unfortunately, Clement is the weakest link, so that's what's going to be sacked. Bug Buzz takes that out, and now we can bring back out Steve to get off another yawn. Venoshock takes us down to 63 HP, and then now it's going to fall asleep the next turn. So we'll switch out into Jeffrey to take a Venoshock again, and now it's asleep, we can switch back to Drew. Now we've got to pray that it doesn't wake up. It does wake up, and we just about survive a Psychic. Another Fire Fang takes it out. Now's Golbat, and it's only actually got flying moves, so it's nothing too crazy. We've also got Zac, which is a little bit stronger. It does confuse us though in its first turn, but we put it to sleep. We get through the confusion and hit an Air Slash, and it really does not do much. I think it's because it's holding an Eviolite. Because of it only having flying moves, we can actually bring in Misty. It goes for a double team, which was quite annoying. Psyshock does quite a lot of damage, and now we've got to get through the confusion and tank flies. We can't really switch either because a lot of our team are weak. We get hit with confusion, and the fly brings us down to red. Thankfully we get through the confusion and hit a Psyshock, and that battle is now over. That is probably the toughest gym battle we've had up till now. After the battle she gives us the Soul Badge, and now we've only got one more gym badge before we can take on the Elite Four. We get some TRs for Toxic, which not too useful. She then tells us that we can learn the move Surf. And yeah, that's it. That's where we're going to end the episode. Thank you everyone for watching, and I hope to see you all for the next one. Peace out.